Beth McGill is here from ThriveFlourishGrow.com, and Beth McGill is a certified hypnotherapist, energy healer practitioner, spiritual mentor, teacher, inspirational speaker, and a best-selling author, even a self-proclaimed soul surfer, and her deepest desire is to help you understand who you really are, your purpose for being here, and to help provide you with the clarity, confidence, and courage to live your life as the powerful creator that she knows you to be. So we're in for a wild ride. Miss Beth McGill, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic today. It's a beautiful day here on the coast.
Very nice. And it's good to have that positivity. And we were just talking about that, how just there's the, I feel like the natural falling back of a human mind is negativity. So we have to put these tools in place and remind ourselves, and whether that's like the affirmations or the hypnotherapy or the meditation or the mindfulness, like all these things that used to be obscure, it seems like they're kind of talked about more. So we have all these tools in the toolbox. Let's put them to use.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest reminder with all of those things is that we have a choice. I think that we're so, like you said, we're almost programmed to think negatively. However, we do have a choice, and no one's in your head thinking for you. And
Sure.
so we get to make that choice about what it is that we want to do, how we want to live, and even the thoughts we want to have in our head. It's all us.
Well, they say that it's like the weather, don't they? Like your thoughts and emotions, and it's just like passing through. And if there's a storm coming through, you can get under a roof, right? If it's like super hot, you can get in the shade. And I don't know what the official language is on that, but when I hear things like that, I find that helpful.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that metaphor, but yes, it's all about having a choice.
Okay, well, great. And so, like, what does that translate to as far as when people come to you and you're like, do you do the energy healing, the hypnotherapy? Like, what's the usual wordage? Like when someone says, "Hey, Beth, I need help. I've tried other things." What do people tell you?
Oftentimes they tell me specifically what the issue is. So the way that they're speaking about a particular issue is very important to me. So I'm listening for the words, but I'm also listening for the energy behind it. And I can get a very good idea about what their mindset is, what their beliefs are. When I work with someone, I want to make sure that their belief is in alignment with actually the outcome that they want. So that's something that I make sure ahead of time, because it's like with hypnotherapy alone, if someone says, "Oh, I want to stop smoking," they might be saying the words, but really they have a longing for it and they don't desire to quit. So there's a lot of pre-work that is done ahead of me having a session with someone.
So it seems like maybe there's a disconnect, right? There's like the current behavior and then the future outcome that they want, and it's like, well, if you don't want to change at all, or if you don't believe in change, or if you don't see a problem with the way that you're behaving, or if you're kind of locked in the same cycle, I can imagine just the many obstacles that like make it impassable. Like it's hard enough to make a change if you want to, but then if you just have excuses in the way, it's like nothing can be done unless you clear that up.
Yeah, normally when people come to me, they know that there is something in the way. They've recognized a pattern. They know that they're not able to get where they want to go on their own. And they usually have no idea. It's almost like the last step, right? They have no idea. Perhaps they've tried therapy, they've tried acupuncture, they've tried all these different modalities, and they're at the last straw. And oftentimes, I get some people that come to me that honestly say, "I really don't want to be here, like on this planet." Like seriously, they've tried everything and they know that something is in their way. So it's a feeling, it's a knowing that something is blocking them, but they have not been able to identify it. So what I do is I'm able to identify it. I'm able to figure out what is the root cause for this specific problem. And then when we do work together, I'm able to release that.
Oh, very nice. And as far as like finding that root cause, is it different for anyone, or like are there trends?
Every situation is unique. What I am able to do with my work is I tap into my higher self. My higher self. We are a soul, but we are connected to our higher self that is all wise, knows everything about us. And I believe that when we connect, when we get still and listen, we can hear messages from our higher self about what we need to do. And so my higher self guides me in every session. Each one is unique. And what I'm able to do then is find out what are the root causes and emotionally, like what emotion is the body holding on to that is keeping the person stuck? Perhaps it happened in childhood. They don't remember. So I'm working with the subconscious. I'm working with the conscious mind because the conscious mind we get trained. We get taught things through our parents or through education. And sometimes what other people teach us, we take on as our belief, but it's not truly our belief. It's not part of our value. And so part of the work is on the conscious level, but the super conscious, that connection to your higher self, is very important as well. And that's where I get my guidance and my information from. So whatever is holding someone back, we can release it and then activate what they need in order to be able to move forward.
Oh, nice. So it's like reassuring and scary at the same time, right? Because like the answers are up there somewhere for both you and for them, but we just have to figure out a way to access it. And so if someone has never experienced hypnotherapy before, like I have never been to a session like that, like what's
Mhm.
sort of the procedure like? Because you mentioned that there might be pre-exercises, but then even if someone goes in, I can only imagine the what goes through people's heads, right? Thinking like, well, how long will this take? Will I be like lying down? Will I fall asleep? Do I have to keep coming back? Like, what's the process like?
Yeah, well, first of all, I do them via Zoom or in person. Yeah, I'm in Morro Bay, California. So either way, the process is the similar. So I always have a consult. The consult is free because, like I said, I have to find out if it's a good fit for the person because working at such a deep level. And I also have to find out specifically what is that issue. Oftentimes, the issue that someone thinks has is not really the issue. Sometimes it's underneath a bigger umbrella of an issue, so to speak. So I want to make sure to get the verbiage on that very specific. And then if we decide to work together, it's about 60 minutes. Sometimes in person, I go a little bit longer because I am using a sound practitioner bowl. I use my tuning forks. There's some other sound elements as well. Um, and then we go through the process, starting with a very simple prayer, getting grounded, connecting to source, dropping down into our heart center. And then the person lies down and I do the energy work and we release together. I take them through visualizations. We activate in the heart center together. I find whatever needs to be released for them. And again, every session's different. And so whatever message that person needs to hear from their higher self, they either hear it from their higher self by being open, or I'll be able to give them that message as well. So it's overall a very calming experience. And
It's so
people often say they feel very, very peaceful.
nice. Well, I like hearing about the process. It's so cool, right? Like it's not just make it up as you go along. You go from this phase to that phase. And what has me really curious is you mentioned that what they say is wrong is not always the deeper issue. And like, what does that look like? Is it like I'm tired, I'm anxious, and you say it's this other thing instead, or like, like what is that? What's an example of that? And how do you get to the conclusion so fast? If maybe you're just meeting them or it's over Zoom, it seems like a tall order.
It seems like a tall order. However, it's not. I get information easily. I want to give you an easy example, but I don't want to. There's also privacy. So this one, the most recent one that I did today, I'm thinking, so the person was recognizing something within themselves. And oftentimes people recognize patterns. For example, I always get into a bad relationship. I'm always attracted to the wrong type of person, right? I'm always attracted to a narcissist. Why is that? Well, that's a pattern. That's a pattern that someone's recognizing. Someone might see, like today, that she was in a place where she kept judging others or had expectations for other people, when it's really not about other people, it's really about us, right? Everybody else is a mirror. If we think something's wrong with somebody else, they're just being a mirror for us, and we need to go within. So it's breaking up any patterns. And again, people are pretty aware of what's going on, but maybe they don't see the whole picture. This one lady, I worked with her a while ago, and she was stuck in business. She goes, I have this great business idea. She goes, people love it. I get people on calls. And then, oh my gosh, she goes, when it goes to the sale, it never goes through. And it was this process, and it had been going over and over and over. And she's just like, this pattern has to stop. She goes, I don't know what is getting in the way. And so I was able to take her back. I figured out it was something, and she was in her 60s, I believe, but I was able to take her back to a time when she was traveling with her husband back when they were in their 30s and they were in Africa. It's like, that's where it started, because something happened in their relationship that was actually the precursor or the cause. Think of it as like planting a seed to this doubt that led to her not being able to complete a sale, even though it was 30 years earlier.
Whoa.
So together then, this is an example where together at the conscious level, we connect the dots.
Whoa, yeah. And for something to last 30 years and for that to be like happen a lot, like, yeah, these issues like follow us around our whole life. And if we don't meet someone like you, we might live to old age and still never get the problem taken care of. And so like I know like it drives me crazy a little bit like when I like communicate with anyone and it's like it's always this or it's never that, right? You always do this or this never happens. And I'm just thinking like, yeah, like how self-defeating is that? By saying like I never make a sale. Well, you're like setting yourself up to like keep that consistent and like purposefully sabotage you making the sale. And so like as far as like the low-hanging fruit, right? If someone says, okay, well, with Beth McGill or without Beth McGill, what are some like beginning changes I can make, like with the negative self-talk or the bad habits? Like what can someone maybe put into action today or this week just to start to make some progress here?
Yeah, well, you're spot on there, because words are powerful, and our words that come out of our mouth, or even the thoughts that we're thinking, are energetic forces, and they're powerful. So you're right. If you say something always or never, then you are limiting yourself. And so one of the ways, I learned this from someone a long time ago, is just don't use those words. So really limit or think about, when do I use the word always? When do I use the word never? And what is an alternative, right? Another thing that people can start doing right away, and this came up, I just did a workshop, and you mentioned about how things can stay with us for a while. Well, I just did a workshop on Sunday, a 4-hour workshop, and I had 4 women. These were amazing, amazing women in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I had these 2 80-year-old women, and they had things that had been continuing, like they had been doing a lot of work, but they both found things that they were able to release. And it was so amazing to see that recognition and to finally be in a place, because you're right, we hold on to things, but you have to be ready to let go. But one of the easy things that anybody can take away with something that came up at that workshop is that stop using or saying the word sorry.
Hmm. Seems like that'll be tough for Canadians.
Yeah. Well, think about it though. Every time you say, and you hear people say it all the time, oh, I'm sorry. You bump into somebody. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, think about the words. When you say, I'm sorry, you're really putting yourself in a state of being sorry. It's almost like I'm a victim.
Hmm.
So think about the energy of the words that you're using. Instead, if you do something wrong, say, I apologize.
Hmm.
I apologize. Think about the energy in those two words. I'm sorry or I apologize. Which one is weak, which one's strong? It's easy to tell, isn't it?
Oh yeah. One is an action, the other one, the I'm sorry is like that's what you are and you can't help it.
Yeah. Versus I apologize is coming from a place of strength.
Yeah.
It's powerful, and we want to remind ourselves that we are powerful beings. We don't need to be in a place of victimhood where we're saying we're sorry all the time. So one of the things I like to do is to remind people how powerful they are
Hmm.
in every situation. So even in business, we were talking before that we recorded, it's like even when you get on a call, and I've done lots of mindset talks with businesses about this, if you can just take 2 minutes before you get on a call or have a Zoom meeting or whatever it is, and if you want to stand, you can even like do a power pose, or it's just a matter of closing your eyes, taking a deep breath, and focusing in on what it is that you want. Or you can focus on the other person. You can even send them love before you get on the call, right?
Hmm.
There's so many things that we can do to really remind ourselves how powerful we truly are.
That's helpful, and especially as you said right before we started recording, and I try to, be honest with people, but I'm always worried about, well, if I kind of if I'm too honest or explain my problem, I'm giving it light. So it's like this the paradox of being a man, right? Do I say like do I admit my feelings, or but then that means I'm kind of like affirming it for the future. And so I know that like when I like especially like I know you do lots of podcasting and you
Mhm.
you're in a profession where there's lots of appointments to jump into, and it's only human, I imagine, to see that calendar and see all kinds of appointments. And you said at the beginning we have a choice, right? And the choice can be, well, here's all the people I'm going to help. But then I know, like me personally, I sometimes just I have that little tiny bit of dread, and I'm better at it now than I was a few years ago. But yeah, you said right before getting on these meetings, do exactly what you described. Have a little bit of 2 minutes there, and I need to pick up that habit, and I will, and I'll work on it because I know like even like falling asleep maybe a year ago, I was playing around with breathing techniques, and I figured out one where like I remember when I start the breathing technique, but I never remember actually like falling asleep, and it seems to always work. It's like, hey, cool. I just from all the randomness and trying things out, I'm like, hey, there's a technique that worked. And so as far as this kind of 2 minutes before the Zoom call, what's going through my mind is like trying different like affirmations or like using AI to find the different like kind of like self meditation talk scripts. But like what do you suggest if I were to like experiment with this 2 minute window and like try to figure out the ideal input to get the output? What do you suggest?
Mm. Well, I believe that slowing down through breath is important. I love being able to experiment, like you said. That's part of what I've done is I've had many meditation teachers. I've looked at so many different spiritual mentors. You really do have to try it out for yourself because as human beings, we're so different. But as you allow yourself that 2 minutes to be able to slow down and grab those nuggets, grab those things. One thing that's super easy is just to remember if you're going to take a few deep breaths, to make your exhale longer than the inhale. What
Ooh.
that does is it relaxes the body a little bit. So if you're go, 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 and you got, okay, wait a minute, I need to slow down a minute. I've got too much going on in my mind. Just take some deep breaths, but just make sure that your exhale is longer, right? So you might even stop on the inhale. So you might inhale, take a nice deep inhale, hold, and then exhale, making sure that it's a couple of seconds longer than the inhale. And it just naturally starts to relax and soften the body a little bit.
Oh, very nice. So there's all kinds of changing it up that we can try and make the exhale longer than the inhale. That's good. And just start with the breathing. And so we've been jumping around with all sorts of interesting topics and life advice. But in this conversation we're having, Miss Beth McGill, do you think in these final few minutes there might be a missing question in this conversation that I should be asking you? I just don't know to ask you.
How did I get started with energy work?
Ooh, how did you?
Yeah. It's nothing that I asked for. However, since I've written a book about manifesting and the law of attraction, I attracted it. Like I never set out to be an energy worker or hypnotherapist, but it truly came to me and I was able to receive it by meeting the right people, being in the right room at the right time, asking someone that doesn't teach how to do energy work, asking them to teach me. And it was just a series of events that happened. Nothing happens by accident, I believe. That truly brought me to this place where I'm able to recognize my gift.
Very cool. And now you're working in this beautiful part of the country and doing what you love because you manifested it, you attracted it, and you were open to the new opportunities and you went with it with some courage. And so this manifesting book that you wrote, is it Allow Life to Happen?
Yes, allow life to happen and receive everything you desire.
Oh, nice. And so if someone says, okay, I'm interested in that book, what's the sales pitch on that?
Ooh, I love it. So through my journey, see, I never set out to write a book, but I went through my journey. And in my journey, I did the research. I read 16 books.
Okay.
I did 30 plus exercises, different things that I practiced, just like trying different types of meditation. I did the work,
Go
right?
pee-pee.
So what I do in the book
Go
is I share
pee-pee.
those.
Yes.
And then you can do the exercises that resonate with you out of those 30 and see which ones work for you. I've already done the legwork. Perhaps one of the books that I read, you're going to receive some nuggets or a quote. So it gives you I've already done the groundwork. You get the steps of manifesting that I learned by doing, right? And then you also get the books, the research, and the activities or the exercises to do. So you actually get to take action.
Very nice. And I'm just sensing a pattern here in our conversation of like, just, try different experiments, right? With the manifesting and with the, like the meditation and the breathing and etc. It's kind of like when you're in school, right? You took all kinds of weird, wacky classes. Why did I have to take a history class and a math class and a geography class? Because it's like you to pick up little bits and it's like, your favorite path that you drive from home to work or home to the store, you're like, hey, maybe if I try turning on this street, whoa, that's like a shortcut that I didn't expect because there's no traffic light, even though it's counterintuitive. So there's definitely value in trying things out, but we can sometimes get stuck with the analysis paralysis, which is why I can see a book like this is helpful, right? You just go through the 30 exercises and you collect the data, figure out what works for you, and you double down on what did work and leave behind what didn't work. And it seems to be just a good process in general for just like navigating life's adventures. So there's that book, Allow Life to Happen and Receive Everything You Desire by Beth McGill. And then you have your hypnotherapy business, thriveflourishgrow.com. So if someone says that they're interested in the energy healing, the spiritual mentorship, etc., you say that you're in person in Morro Bay, California, but also on Zoom. So if someone wants to check out this hypnotherapy concept, what do you have to say about that?
Well, the hypnotherapy and energy work is done together. So it's in conjunction. So in my individual sessions, I'm doing both or one or the other, whichever way I get guided. So I think of hypnotherapy as deep guided meditation. So most people are familiar with guided meditations and perhaps they've even listened to one. That's what it is. It's getting into a relaxed state, similar to driving, similar to watching TV. You're always in control. So there's nothing unusual or scary about it at all. It's just like watching TV. You're relaxed.
Nice. Okay. So it seems maybe less scaring or terrifying than it looks like in TV or movies with the cliches. Like this can be like a very pleasant experience, especially as you say, the people that come to you, they've tried all sorts of other techniques and this might be their last resort and it's what helps them. So it's definitely worth looking into to transform fear into freedom, connect to your soul's purpose, manifest with ease and confidence, and overcome limiting beliefs and so much more. And we can go to thriveflourishgrow.com and book a free attunement call and just have this conversation with Miss Beth and explore these possibilities. And so we mentioned the website, we mentioned the book, and because I like to have fun on the podcast, I like to sometimes try to stump or drive a little bit of fear into my guests, put them on the spot by asking about a fun or interesting quote or lesson that has served them. So what comes to mind for you, Miss Beth McGill, about a fun or interesting quote or lesson that has served you?
Yeah, so an interesting lesson is one that surrender is powerful. Sometimes people think of surrendering as a weakness, but when we truly surrender into ourselves, when we surrender from thinking about the things that we think are right or correct, but when we truly allow ourselves to surrender to, whether you say God, spirit, or universe, when you surrender to that power, then you recognize your own power within you.
That's powerful. That's deep. We'll have to think about that. The value in surrendering. And we can consider that as we check out Beth McGill, energy healer, hypnotherapist, best-selling author, and spiritual teacher at thriveflourishgrow.com. You can go there, find her blog, contact her, social media, and so much more. And then that book, Allow Life to Happen and Receive Everything You Desire. It shares what she's learned so that you can live a life you love, knowing exactly what your life's purpose is and who you really are, because it's time for you to allow life to happen and receive everything that you desire. So check that out, Allow Life to Happen and Receive Everything You Desire by Beth McGill on Amazon and thriveflourishgrow.com. And thank you so much, Miss Beth McGill, for showing up, stopping by, and being a lot of fun and educating us. I'm very grateful that you were here, so thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's always great to talk with someone and share this information.